Fred. So, welcome back to the Canada Specialist Program series. Fred, it's lovely to have you with us today. We have had an update on Lazy Bear, but I think it was a few years ago now. So, it's great to have you for all the latest news and packages and how to tie it all up, and for our agents to really sell this destination and know what sort of products there are to sell. So, thank you, Fred. Welcome, and I'll hand over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Charlie. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for this opportunity. I'm the global sales manager for Lazy Bear Expeditions. As this is a short presentation, I've actually taken the liberty to retain someone else who's going to tell you a lot more in a very few seconds about Lazy Bear Expeditions, Churchill, and the region than I can. So I'd like to first start just briefly with the region. Mel already covered a lot of that. The only thing I'll say, two things, that Hudson Bay is the world's largest inland sea, and it's also one of the it's the world's second largest bay. And the ice covers the Hudson Bay from December to June, which is crucial for the polar bears and for their hunting throughout the winter season. The other thing I'd like to mention is that both the region and Churchill fall directly under the Northern Hemisphere's auroral oval, which makes it one of the world's best places to view the northern lights, because it's perfectly positioned for the northern lights, which, as Mel said, are visible usually 300 nights a year. So Churchill, Manitoba, we like to refer to it as a small seaside village on the western shore of Hudson Bay. What's amazing about Churchill is the population is 850 people. The region around it is about 1,000 polar bears, and there are 60,000 beluga whales in the bay in the summer, 3,000 of which are very close to where our lodge is. It's such an amazing place that Time magazine in 2023 listed it as one of the world's greatest places. It's also a very unique place in that three distinct biomes meet where Churchill is, which is the boreal forest, one of the largest forests in the world, the Arctic tundra, and the Arctic Sea. And as Mel said, it is the polar bear capital of the world. Our lodge, which is an award-winning lodge, is hand-built, and it's 90% of the logs and all the material are reclaimed from two boreal forest fires and local historic buildings going back to the 1800s. Even the window glass, a lot of it is from an 1800s Hudson Bay trading post. There are 33 rooms, all authentic log rooms, and we actually can have 66 guests at any time. We're also building an extension, which will be ready in about another year and a half. And all of this, especially based on authenticity, location-inspired architecture, eco-stewardship, and giving back to community, inspired National Geographic Traveler magazine to list our lodge as one of the top worthy hotels, which is quite an honor. So just so you can see, pictures always speak better than words. These are just a few of the rooms. The main picture here is a meeting area where, after all the once-in-a-lifetime adventures, people gather and we have a lot of fun in there. But the whole lodge is built the same way. You can see one of the bedrooms and also even stairways everywhere. It's just the most beautiful, authentic, rustic log lodge. Our Lazy Bear Cafe or restaurant is also received a lot of attention. It is truly world-class dining. The menu is Indigenous-inspired. All the greens are grown locally in our own farm, which is about a half-mile away. All of the furniture is reclaimed log furniture. We also have a Scandinavian stone fireplace, and it's also been listed as the top choice of restaurants in Churchill by Lonely Planet, And Reader's Digest says it's where you can find Canada's best cup of coffee. So here's this very small part of the restaurant or cafe. Again, everything with logs. That's a 20,000-pound stone fireplace. Arctic char is very popular. It's one of our signature meals. And as you can see, we have some very interesting specialty coffees, which have received a lot of attention as well. It's simply a stunning, stunning lodge. Eco-sustainability, I'll just say a few points. I mentioned that we have our greens grown locally, which means there's very few food miles in terms of preparation and travel. We compost and return all waste to the soil. Wind and solar energy power our marina and dock. And we're hoping very soon to have the lodge completely powered by wind-generated power. Just a couple of things before I get into the expeditions. We're the only Manitoba company with an exclusive fleet of Arctic tour vessels, and they're all certified by the Canadian Coast Guard and also certified as rescue vessels. We also have the coveted permits for daily access to the exclusive Churchill Wildlife Management Area. All of our vessels and all of our Arctic crawlers, we call them, are all custom designed by our owner. And we can handle groups from small to very large. And we've been doing this for 35 years with expert-led adventures. This is our Matanabe, named after the famous guide to explorers in the area centuries ago. And this was commissioned and actually had its inaugural voyage last year. And it actually can hold 59 people, including the captain. And this is what we use to go up the western coast of Hudson Bay as we go looking for bears gathering along the coast. Our ultimate adventures, I'm going to go through each of those now, just very briefly. All of the adventures include 2 nights in Winnipeg, pre and post adventure, all the nights at Lazy Bear Lodge in Churchill, round trip airfare between Winnipeg and Churchill, all the meals and beverages in the cafe, our guides and guards, and shuttle service and luggage handling while in Churchill. So I'll highlight on this one, I'll highlight all of the points, and then I'll be more brief with the next tours. The Ultimate Bears and Beluga Summer Adventure, which is in the summer. One of the key things here is a full-day Hudson Bay coastal boat tour on the Matanabe. And again, we go up the coast and we're watching and photographing polar bears along the coast where they do everything from to swim, to rest, relax. And if they find something that they can eat, they'll do that as well. And of course, as we're traveling there, and again, it's a full day journey, we'll be surrounded by beluga whales in the sea, and we'll see other wildlife on the land. The beluga whale boat tour is a little more intimate, well, actually, I should say a lot more intimate in that our guests will be in zodiacs, small rafts, and that's where, as we say, our guests will get up north and personal because the whales will literally be within feet of these crafts, and they'll be out there for several hours, and then it includes a tour of the Prince of Wales Fort, which is a very old British fort that used to be completely manned by cannon. The summer tundra tour will be again aboard our Arctic crawlers, and we'll be going into the Churchill Wildlife Management Area. The Churchill Heritage Tour includes all of the highlights that are important heritage points of Churchill, including the famous polar bear jail and more. And of course, every night in Churchill, weather dependent, our guests can usually see the northern lights, especially as we get later into the summer, and then they grow throughout the fall. But again, they're visible 300 nights a year. Beluga aquagliding and kayaking are optional in this tour, but I'll show you what that's about because it's included in some other tours. But here's, again, some of the things we see on this tour. We get so close to the whales, especially in the zodiacs. The whales love the crafts, and they come close. They travel in pods, so there's always lots of whales around. Again, there are about 3,000 right where we are. I was photographing the kayakers and beluga aquagliders last summer, and these are the sort of things you see. You can see the a whole pod here with that kayaker. You can see the expressions on their faces as the whales pop up in front of them and beside them. And beluga aquagliding, which is an amazing adventure. Our guests, we take them out in a Zodiac. They go on a rubber mat. They're wearing a snorkel, mask, and a wetsuit. And they stick their heads into the bay and they sing to the whales. And the whales come right up to them. Many of them take pictures by phone, and the whale's face is literally 3 or 4 feet away. It's quite amazing. Journey to Fireweed Island. I'll cover this quickly. Once again, and this is in August. This is ideal for anyone who wants to really see all three, beluga whales, polar bears, and northern lights all together, because we're still in the summer, but the bears are coming more and more to the coast, and the northern lights are becoming very visible. So again, it's a full day excursion up the western coast, but where it differs is we then get off the boat and go for a 3-hour trek on Fireweed Island, one of the most remote islands in the world, and we explore for polar bears on foot and other wildlife. It's a life-changing trip. The rest of the items here I've already covered, except that in this tour, along with everything else that you'll do similar to the last tour, we'll have Duke University there, several people. They'll be there as a resource. They'll do a presentation, and also a professional photographer will do presentations on how to improve photography for Northern Lights and wildlife. And that would be yours truly. And these are, again, what we see. And again, the fireweed, which is what's very unique about this, is Fireweed Island is the only place in the world where fireweed and polar bears coexist. And it makes for the most amazing photography. Our Ultimate Bears and Aurora Arctic Adventure. Now we're into September. The Arctic crawler, which I've covered, but at this point we'll be looking for polar bears, Arctic fox, Arctic hare, ptarmigan, and other wildlife. It also includes a helicopter adventure where you see all of this from the air, which is quite remarkable. I've covered the Zodiac adventure, but it also includes dog mushing and an indigenous cultural discussion with one of our indigenous guides. And that's an amazing event as well. The Northern Lights, of course, and the Heritage Tour. And again, these are the sort of things that we can see. The Ultimate Northern Lights Solar Science Adventure, in honor of the solar maximum, which is occurring this year, which is where the sun, for the first time in 20 years, is changing its magnetics again. And this is going to increase the aurora worldwide, and especially in areas such as in the auroral oval. We've actually retained Dr. Misch and Dr. Gibson, two of the world's top solar scientists. They'll be there on 3 of our tours in September, hence Solar Science. And they'll be there as a resource to our guests, both with presentations, and they'll be out, under the Northern Lights with our guests, just to have informal conversations and to be there as a resource. Everything else here, I will mention the shipwreck to the Ithaca. You saw that in the video with the bear. We'll also have an Indigenous cultural presentation. While we've heard the science side of the Northern Lights, the Indigenous guide will also talk about the cultural significance of the Northern Lights to Indigenous people. We'll also have an exciting night of bannock and bonfire and Indigenous storytelling, and that's going to be quite remarkable. And again, I'll be there to help people with their photography. The Ultimate Northern Lights Photo Adventure is the same thing, but without the scientists. And I won't say anything else there, but again, there's all sorts of wonderful areas that we can photograph the Northern Lights. While we're at it, these are some of the other wildlife that we'll see, and not guaranteed, but they're certainly out there. And lastly, our Ultimate Polar Bear Adventure, October, November. This is where our guests go out on 2 Arctic crawler adventures, and Northern Lights, of course, dog mushing, etc. And here are some examples of what we can photograph and see aboard our crawlers. You can see how close the bears get. And with that, thank you very much.
Just amazing. Thank you so much, Fred. And obviously, you're so passionate about this area. Love that you do the photography as well. Fred, something that you love?
Absolutely. I've been a wildlife photographer for 40 years.